We're live.
Yeah, we
Hello.
are.
Hey, Natasha.
Hello.
These weeks go by so fast. And I'm kind of glad they do because we really enjoy doing the show. Now we're in our second. We're actually 2 years past 2 years already. So, whoa,
Yeah.
it's interesting. Later on down the line, because these are all online. Let's say after 5 years goes by, we'll be able to see ourselves slowly age. You know, on the and we'll be talking about the same things, because it's like going to church every week, and you think people could just go into a church, and the pastor would give one sermon to them about love and doing the right thing. They wouldn't need to come back again because they just all go and do it. But as human beings, as we found out in our spiritual walks, uh, it's not that easy. I just introduce myself quick. I'm Regan Forston. I have I, my website is visittheafterlife.com. I'm a certified facilitator therapist for the Newton Institute. That's my specialty, where I help people to receive a deep state of trance through hypnosis. And we have this process which allows people to expand their awareness to the other side. As you see, Natasha can do it kind of directly, but most of us can't do that. So we have this process which kind of turns us into being like mediums, where we actually see
Hmm.
and feel and get information from the other side. The sessions are about 90% successful. Seems like we all have that ability. We just need to know how to access it, to get answers and questions to things we have about our life. And Natasha, why don't you introduce yourself, and then we can tell them what the topic is for today.
So I'm Natasha Venter, and I'm a psychic medium, personal awareness life coach, which I'm a little bit more than that because I cover a lot of different realms and different
Yeah,
things and can go different places quickly. And, you know, I'm and I do it without judgment and I do it without, harshness. And I want everybody to know that, when we're here, we're trying to do it in a way that, we're in the 3D world body here, doing a lot of things and doing a lot of negotiations. And so Regan and I like to help bring the spirituality of the work of the soul. That's why it's called the dance of the soul, because we're still human in the human body, as we have a soul that wants to do its work. So as we're doing this work and doing the things that, it's about doing the spiritual work, but yet the more we're in our body and the more we do our work in the body, the more that we can find our spirituality a little differently. And Regan and I don't really work on one belief system or the other. It's about the whole gamut of who are we in the dance that we do. And so today the conversation is going to be about judgment, and many of us are very self-judging. And as I'm doing this book
yeah,
study with this one book, that we're finding out how much we are judgmental to ourselves, because of the fact that there is this dance that it's like, why do I believe that, and where is that coming from, and why do I have to be this perfectionist person when I don't even want to be perfect, but yet these little whispers and stories come out at us. And how do we negotiate those? How do we be that person in that story? And that's the dance that we gotta kind of, and we gotta navigate it, because it's the life that we live. It is the life that we live.
hmm So today we're going to talk about judgment. We're going to start with judgment of ourselves, because that's probably the biggest thing. If you're watching this over the next few days, um, be mindful. And of just mentioning that to you, people out there, if you just think, oh, okay, I'm going to think of every time during the day that I'm judging myself, and you'll be surprised. I mean, we do it so naturally, so frequently, that it's kind of part of us. And
Hmm.
the more mindful we can be about self judgment, if you're just mindful that you're about to judge yourself, or you just did, the easier it's going to be for you to move on from that, to use a few techniques we might give you today to stop being so judgmental of yourself. Natasha, would you agree? I think that the most judgmental thing that we do, that probably does, it slows down our progress, or maybe does a little bit of abuse to ourselves is the fact of thinking that anytime we're not what we consider perfect, that we are judgmental of ourselves and somehow in a negative way. And maybe the first thing we need to realize is that nobody's perfect, and that we can, if we could just eliminate that right off the bat by maybe being a little disappointed in ourselves or something, but not so, I don't know, cruel to ourselves of just, I hate myself because we see that we haven't reached perfection, because I don't know anybody that's kind of reached that.
Exactly, and that's the thing is that, when you're talking about, judgment, we also have to talk about success, and that just popped in my head when you were
Hmm.
saying that, is that, we think of failure as something that is a negative thing, when actually it's part of the stepping up the ladder.
Right.
You know? And with that stepping up the ladder, it's like, let's say somebody is, starting a new job, let's say, and they're trying to figure it out, and, you know, we're wanting to do everything right. And it's like, how can we do it right when we don't even know the system, you know?
Right.
And there's I've had a couple people who, are, changing positions, even in like my school that I work in, we're changing positions and they know how to kind of do it. They've witnessed it, they've been in that classroom, but still it's going to be new for them. I said, "Oh, it's like kind of like getting a new phone." And they go, "Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's like getting a new phone. We kind of know how to use a phone, but we got to remember how, or we got to know how to use the phone that we have." And so there's that ladder stepping, and yet we judge that, why can't I do this on my phone? I just got it and I want to do it right.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, everything takes time. But we don't give ourselves time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's the scary thing is that we don't, and it is scary. We don't give ourselves time.
Well, we give up too quickly
Hmm.
sometimes. Have a client that went to work for FedEx, and this young man, and after the first week, he just said, "I'm going to quit. I just can't get this computer stuff that I have to do of navigating where to go and how everything to do it." He was so overwhelmed. So I just talked him into. I said, "Look, just give it a month. Don't quit. Don't quit after a week. Give it a month. You know." And well, now 3 months later, he's like their top. He can deliver more packages than anybody, you know, and he just navigated around. So that's a good example of don't, sometimes we want to try something new,
Hmm.
and if we don't get it right away, the children are like that sometimes. They get frustrated, because
Hmm.
they can't. They see the adults doing a certain thing, and then they try it and they can't, and they just want to give up sometimes because they figure they just can't do it. But we can really do so much more if we just hang in there for a little bit.
I
It
know
takes time.
it does take time. Yeah, and, like, for me, there's sometimes where I'm, like, going they're getting upset about they can't do it. I said, "You're a first grader. You're not supposed to know how to do it yet,
Right. Yeah.
you
That's a
know?
good way.
You're a second grader. How are you supposed to know how to spell that?
Hmm.
You're a
Hmm.
second grader, you know? Give yourself time, But we started so early because, for some reason, somewhere in the dance of life that somebody's told us, "Why don't you know how to do it?" Or we, in ourselves, sometimes it's our own makeup, it's our own mind's game, it's our own wiring that we started out with, this, well, I know how to do it. And this is my observation. Sometimes it's a very old soul coming into a body, and they have to remember how to be young again.
Yeah.
You know, because that old soul knows how to do things, but then the mind and the body are kind of like going, but there's a part of me that knows what to do, and I can't do it, but I'm here doing it, and yet I'm a second grader body, and yet I know what to do, and I can't do it, and it's this thing that how do we negotiate these things that we know how to do, and yet we're still, even if we're 50, even if we're 60, even if we're 40, if we're 30, there's times that we don't know better to do better. but yet we think we should because there's a part of us that knows what to do, but yet this body, this knowing has not done it yet.
Yeah. Well, maybe you can answer this too, in a way. I mean, I understand it intuitively. You would think that since we're born, we come back time after time after time, and then, we're little babies and we're adult. If we've already have that knowledge of what it's like to be human from other lives and everything, why don't we, out of the, come out of the birth canal and go, hey, doc, how you doing, and let me get back to work on my project that, that I had from my past life. There seems to always be this period
Re
of getting to up to speed again,
Mhm.
and I don't know exactly how to explain it, and it's kind of what happens. Although every once in a while, there's somebody like Mozart or somebody that comes in and at 5 or 6 years old, they're playing like a prodigy, or they're a prodigy, as I guess they call them, these kids that seem to have the awareness. So some of us get to work sooner than others and come to this awareness of the abilities, but most of us, it's just like, learning to walk all over again,
Exactly, but, we talk about Mozart knowing, but I bet you he was on the spectrum.
Yeah.
And when you're on the spectrum, there's a part of your wiring of your brain that knows
Oh yeah, that picks up certain things really, really quick.
exactly, and then there's other parts of the brain that it's not bogged down with. But if you're talking about someone who is, I don't want to call them normal
Yeah.
because there's no normal,
Right.
but someone who is in the ability to be more well-rounded, I'm going to call it. There's not a logistic right word about it, but yet, the because we all have scenarios. We all have something that we struggle with.
Yeah.
There's always a thing. We each have a thing. What is our thing? And even though I'm dyslexic, but yet I'm well-rounded in a lot of scenarios, right? So how can I be more well-rounded, yet being well-rounded? And this is the one thing that my dad taught me is that, he was a master of many, but I mean, he was a knower of many facets, but he was a master at nothing.
Yeah. That's me.
And and I would agree with you. You're amazing on how you know how to negotiate many things, but yet at the same time, though, for me, I would rather be, and that's what I know. I have a knowing of many things. If I walk in to get my car worked on, I know how to talk to the mechanic. If I have somebody here who is doing construction, I know how to interact with them. Now, can I work on it? No. Can I work on my car? No. So I'm not a master at it, but I have knowings of it. And that's, if we can get more to where we can step from one thing to another and kind of say, I have an understanding. I don't know the logistics of it, but I have an understanding of it. So how can I get more into that too? Now, if you're talking about computers with me, yeah, that's a little different story. I'm
Hmm.
getting better, you know, but at the same time, though, logistically, it's how do we negotiate it? But the reason why we don't come into this world with a full-fledged knowing is because if we came in knowing of everything, we wouldn't have a sincerity to learn. We wouldn't have a naiveness to learn.
Hmm.
And if we come in with a little bit more naiveness, with an unawareness, then we come at it with more of a open-mindedness to negotiate this world. Not to say that we're open-minded. We're not open-minded, many of us, but yet we have more of an open-mindedness than if we, let's say, if we already knew how to work on cars, it's one of those things. Or like somebody who knows how to speak and write Spanish, do they always take Spanish in high school? No, they choose another language. It's that thing that we always, our humanness is curious enough to go, what is that? What is that?
Hmm.
So if we come in with a full knowing, now I came in with a lot of knowings, but yet at the same time, there's sometimes when somebody's talking about something, I go, "Oh, that's that part that I know that's been whispering around and not without any language." It was kind of like that, fly floating around the house. It was like, "Oh, now I can catch that fly and put a name to it and put a language to it because it's like now I know a little bit more what it is instead of it being out in the ethers."
Yeah. Well, I learned one thing. It's sometimes if we're thinking of different skills and things that we want to learn personally, and you say like a jack of all trades, that was kind of me in the entertainment field. Like when I was a performer going from fair to fair and mall to mall and school to school.
Mhm.
Um, I only had to learn a certain amount, to fill like an hour show. I had to, in other words, I knew some magic, uh, some ventriloquism, some juggling, some mime,
Mhm.
and all these skills. People, after seeing a show, they would think I was a master at all of those, but I was a master of one part of those skills. You know, like when I would do corporate events, and I would get paid thousands of dollars a night to just walk around at their events doing close-up magic. So I learned about 20 magic tricks really, really good out of the thousands that there are. Okay. Because I'm with a group for maybe 10 or 15 minutes, then I go to another group and another group. So all I had to do is to be proficient and an expert on a small amount of tricks, but it gave the illusion that I was a master magician. And
Mhm.
I always said that was funny, that I would do that. So it's just like in the handwriting, when I became a handwriting analyst, where I made a lot of money just doing people's handwriting at different events and things that corporate would have me come in, and people would have them I'd have them write a sentence, and I knew 20 basic characteristics that handwriting shows. So, and I knew those just backwards and forwards, just those 20 things. And again, I could get paid thousands of dollars a night just to do those since I was just an expert in that little bit, that little part of it. So maybe sometimes we don't have to think that we have to know everything about everything. Even these people that do computer work, when I talk to people up and coming, and some of them, they're just really, 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 really good. But some of them are only good, they're experts at programming. Others are, experts in fixing things or, viruses and things. But
Mhm.
most of them will say, no, it's impossible to know, to find someone that can do everything that there is to know about computers and that. And it's just about life. Like here, I'm here, I found out when I was on the other side for the hours I spent over there. And they told me that my mission to come down here was to learn kindness. That was my main goal for being in this life. That one thing, there were some other things like doing this spiritual work that I'm doing was one of the things, but the main focus was to learn to be kind. And you think, gosh, I can handle more than that. Hey, give me a bunch of stuff to learn. And I have like these sublets. But when I realized, looking back now, that my journey in learning to be kind has been lifelong. I'm in my 70s now, and I feel I'm starting to get the hang of it now. But there's a lot more that comes. Like they say, kindness is love with work boots on. It
Mhm.
takes a lot of work to, you think, oh, it's easy to be kind. I'll just be nice to everybody. That's a joke. It takes a lot of effort because kindness, to go out of your way to do things for people, sometimes you have to become very unselfish. And so I don't run myself down anymore for not being perfect, being the perfect kind person. But all I do is I look back at a year ago at who I was and look at now, and I can see that I'm making this steady step by
Progression.
step progression of being kind. Yeah. And
Mhm.
and it feels good. So I've learned to not be so rough on myself as I was when I was younger, because so many times I'd fail. Like when you put your mind on something that you're working on, like patience or kindness or anger management, like I teach and actually had to go through myself to get that balance. Even that, people know to watch the show before. I went through 3 years of classes every Thursday night for 3 hours for 3 years to try
Mhm.
to learn how to deal with feelings of anger that I had, to channel it in the proper way so I didn't do any damage to people. And, you know, I just went, how did I do that? When I look back now, like every Thursday, 3 years, but it was something that I had to go through to get to where I wanted to be, and I still have occasions, not very often, but, I had something that happened this week. It was like somebody was trying to kind of, pull one over on me, a salesperson or something. I forget what it was this week. And I instantly inside felt like my inside was like, felt like punching him, but I didn't, and I handled it. But I had that feeling, those feelings of anger came up inside. And I went, and I started feeling guilty and bad that I had those feelings. But hey, we have the feelings. It's what you do with the feelings that matters,
Yeah,
that
exactly.
way.
And then not, we're all human. We
Yeah.
are all human, and that's the practice to do better. And that's one of my mantras is I'm practicing to do better, to create this, okay, I was angry with that person. That's okay. It's okay to be angry with someone. And then go, okay, but I didn't act on it. I'm not going to act on it. And, it's that, how do you negotiate it afterwards? And I'm going to tell you that if you're someone who has a very rough time being hard on yourself, find those quick mantras, I'm perfectly imperfect. I'm perfectly imperfect. I'm perfectly imperfect. I'm learning. I'm learning. I'm learning. I'm learning. I'm learning. I'm learning. It doesn't matter if it's if it's in a language of, easy, it's what works. Find something that works for you to create something that creates less judgment for thyself. You know, I'm I'm
Hmm.
I'm new. 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 Give myself a break. Give myself a break. Give myself a break. If you're noticing that it's just whatever would come to me, and use it for something to help that process. And many times, if we can practice first the reaction to interaction, you know then that self-judgment will slowly go away. And that's the thing that's different about a lot of people is they react quickly. I want to do it, I need to do it, I have to do it perfectly. It's that reaction instead of breathing and saying, and so, when we do something that's, let's say, spilt coffee on the computer,
Mm.
instead of saying, oh, you dumb, breathe. Breathe. What can you do? And go, accidents happen.
Right.
Accidents happen. And, how can we negotiate that? And I was talking with someone yesterday that was so proud of one of their family members because, you know, they were together for the first time in a couple Christmases. And, one of the siblings said, oh my gosh, that person grew up because of the fact that instead of getting, spilling milk and then getting upset and it ruined the rest of their day because they were in such judgment about that moment, that they started breathing a little bit and they knew that accidents happen, we just clean it up.
Yeah. Well, there was two of my daughters. There was a really contrast, and one of them one time, like I was with one, we were going somewhere. She had this nice new dress on or something. We're at the restaurant, and she spilled some chocolate or something on it, and that was ended her day. I mean, she was so upset and everything, cried and blah blah, and it just that little bit of spilled something on there on this new dress, and it's almost like she couldn't function for a few hours,
Uh-huh.
and then with one of my other daughters a few months later, same scenario happened, and she goes, ah, doggone it, okay, let me just get some of this off, and we went. It was like she was over it in a couple of minutes. There was always that, oh no, my I got this on there, people are going to see it and everything. But
Mm-hmm.
I was so happy just to see that one of my daughters was able to do that. And the other one I think has since changed and it's not a big deal anymore. But uh, I like that. My significant other Patty here, she's so good with that. I mean, she'll spill something and just like, okay, boom, a few seconds, and it's okay. And I'm kind of that way too. Like, oh, I was doing some painting this week, and I was in a hurry to get it done. Also, I'm painting, and I dropped some. I got on my pants, and I went, "Oh, wow, these are my better pants. I should have put on my work pants." So I got it off the best I could, and I went in and changed so that the rest of the paint that I ended up spilling over the period of painting, I got on my pants that are ready to accept it, But
Yeah,
I did,
exactly.
but I just thought, okay, next time, remember, paint pants first, you know. So hopefully I've learned that lesson now for good, So, and I get
Well,
impatient sometimes, I think, oh, it's just going to be a few minutes. I can, stay back. I'll be real careful. I won't get any paint, but paint knows just how to get on everything.
it does, it does. But that's the thing is that how can we negotiate these judgments that we have on ourselves? And I know that a lot of our judgments come from being very young.
Yeah.
We hear our parents or our siblings or, siblings, they're the roughest on us many times. You're so stupid. What are you thinking?
Mm-hmm.
Because they want
Mm-hmm.
to be better than ourselves. So how do we get out of these patterns that have been taught to us? And
Yeah.
that's the thing is it's just becoming aware of it.
Yeah.
Becoming aware
And
of it.
like I think we're saying, okay, the first thing we want to help people with is, like you and I have done, and many other people, is to be mindful that um, you are disappointed in yourself, that you are kind of running yourself down. Just to be aware that you're doing it. The
Mhm.
second step is to think, "Hey, wait a minute, okay, I know Regan and Tasha says nobody's perfect, and I believe them, and because we all know that, we all know we're not perfect, okay." And then, once you kind of realize that, then you can start to manage it, a bit. And you
Mhm.
can just take a breath, like you're saying, okay, not so bad. No babies died here, kind of like it's not
Exactly.
that big a deal. And I'm perfectly imperfect. Okay, I love myself, and then move on, you know, because we do, if you think about it, we do a lot of damage to ourselves. We cause ourselves so much stress, so much inner turmoil when we're so hard on ourselves that way.
Mhm.
And as I mentioned before, when we do the tapping, where people talk about, even though I felt like smacking my boss in the mouth, he was so mean to me. I love and accept myself, even though I have this fear, even though I have this pain or whatever, and I'm such a horrible person. Oh, no, no, no. Really, I love and accept myself, as we're doing this. So, you acknowledge that you have feelings of anger and everything, but then you kind of go to your higher self and go, it's okay. I love and accept myself, even though I have these negative thoughts, even though I have these
Mhm.
negative feelings. And it's the first key to actually accepting yourself and being okay that I'm okay with all my warts and things. Don't you love it when you see people sometimes that they're the kind of people that says, I don't care what anybody says about me. That's their deal. Wow. Does that free you up? Because sometimes we're so concerned about the judgment of others. Like
Mhm.
someone said, oh, someone didn't like the speech that I gave, like they get, with the internet now, and when people go to a concert and you'll have, you never read about a concert or some performance or something and get where 100% of the people say they loved it. You're going to have people say, oh, that was the best show I ever had. You're going to find some on there that say, oh my God, they really sucked. That was horrible. You know?
Exactly.
So, and that's one of the four agreements, right? Of
Mhm.
which there's that book again, we push on here that's sold millions of copies, called The Four Agreements. It's by, I always forget his name, but it's
Um,
a
Raul
uh, is
Miguel.
Ruiz, is it?
Yes. Yeah.
Something Miguel Ruiz or something like
Yes.
that. But
Mhm.
if you just type it on the internet, the four agreements, it's a short little book, and it'll change your life if you begin to agree with the agreements. And one of the four is uh, to not be critical of yourself by what other people say about you.
Mhm.
Whether it's positive or negative, because everybody's coming from their own reality, not yours. Just because someone comes up and says, "Oh, you're the worst comedian that I've ever seen," does that mean you're the worst comedian? No, that's their interpretation, or then they're
Their
coming from their thing.
perception.
It's their perception, right? Or say,
Mhm.
oh, you're ugly. Well, yeah, I mean, look at a simple thing like that. You get 10 guys, you get 10 pretty women up in front there, and 10 guys, and some of them will, and everybody would rate everybody different because everybody is different,
Different
has different
perception.
different perceptions, right? You know,
Yeah.
so and
Well,
just
and I
because,
think yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
well, someone could say, wow, you're the nicest, you're the best person I ever met. Does that mean I'm the best person in the world? No, that's their perception of me, which is
Hmm.
nice, but that doesn't mean that's my reality of who I am, you know.
Exactly, exactly. And I know that we're not necessarily talking about skills to negotiate self-judgment or
Right.
judgment of others, but we're giving perceptions to help you understand that sometimes when we get a bigger picture, it comes down, and that's the thing that I want to ask people is that do you have a scale to know what this rates at? So let's say spilt milk, does that rate at a normal 10 for you and 10 is the high? Or
Hmm.
does that rate at a 1 for you? Like, it's a thing, you know?
Hmm. Hmm.
And because of the fact that when we have judgment, we looking at where things rate, is this life altering or is this something that's just, a spill on the shirt that I can wash out? It's just embarrassing to walk with it through the day, because somebody's going to judge it. But, it's like, I know that they spill something on them sometime point through their life. So why should they judge me? And that's why I don't judge, is because if I haven't done it in this lifetime, I've done it in another lifetime. So why should I judge?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, it's a thing. And so how can we negotiate these stories? But I can tell you that if we start working with a scale, is this going to change my world?
Right. Yeah. See
Is
how
this a
serious it
big
is.
thing? Like we say in the school, is this a big thing or is this a little thing? Is somebody bleeding or is this a tattle that you're just uncomfortable with what they did?
Yeah.
You
Um,
know, and
Patty
so
told
using that. Go ahead.
Patty told me about this child that just shows you how people can react. He was 3, 4 years old, I guess. Um, his mom gave him this hot dog, and he squeezes the bun to take a bite of the hot dog, and the hot dog shot out and fell on the floor, you know. And he saw that fly on the floor, and he was crying for like 10 minutes, like it was the end of the world because his hot
Hmm.
dog flew out of the bun. Well, that's how sometimes we are as adults when these little things happen, and we just overreact. And where does that come from? So we have to start taking life a little bit easier. Like, I just had my van painted a few months ago down in Mexico, where I remember I spent like 8 days
Hmm.
down there, had it all nice and painted. Everything's perfect. Well, about 2 weeks ago, someone was in our driveway, or the way it is. I had some workers that were here. They were parked, so I parked in where Patty usually does, which is a little bit skinnier. So it's this big Sprinter van, so it's 19
Hmm.
feet long. So as I'm going around this corner, and all of a sudden I hear a, and I realized that the rock wall that I just scraped about a 5 foot section of my van coming in, and
Oh
new paint job. So I was really happy, proud of myself, because I kind of went, oh bleep, for a minute. I got out and looked at it, and then I just went, I'll get some touch up paint. Nothing I could do about it.
yeah.
So I felt good that I was able to, not cuss up and down. And you see people that get new cars and they park way out in the parking lot. They take up 2 spaces so nobody can get on either side.
Uh-huh.
Uh, and I always thought, if I had a son and he bought a new car, I would go down, help him pick up the car. We'd drive 2 blocks. I'd get out, I'd get in the trunk and take a crowbar, and I'd say, "This is your brand new car." And I would just go, bam, there's your first dent. Now you don't have to worry about that for 6 months. Get it
Well,
over with,
exactly, exactly. And
because
that's
it's
the
going to
thing
happen.
that exactly. And that's the thing about, self-judgment is that it's okay to be upset.
Yeah.
Freaking fracking, blah, And but what are we mad at? Are we mad at we can be upset with ourselves. That happened. I got, scratched up my paint. I should have known better to do better. But here it is. And
Yeah.
how long do we stay in that moment of, why did I do it?
Yeah.
Compared to, does that last days or does it last a moment? Which, lasting a moment, it's okay to be mad and upset that something happened.
Yeah.
That's where I've been practicing a lot with practicing at what is happening, not who is doing it.
Yeah.
I'm practicing a lot with what is happening, because if what is happening, oh, he ran a stoplight and almost ran into me, well, not he ran the stoplight. The car ran a stoplight and almost hit me. Okay, I'm safe. It's like it's that getting it out of the noun and getting it into an open-ended perception of, okay, what is that teaching me? Oh, be aware more of my surroundings. So what are we doing to negotiate these things? And forgiveness doesn't necessarily make it all right, but it makes it better. It makes it better for us. And when we can go through those negotiations of being angry, something happened, yet is it the end of the world? So you got to spend a little money on some touch-up paint. It's
Yeah.
like, you know, um, what, there's certain things that are happening around here that, it's like, okay, that happened. I can't really, it's like it's a thing that happened. It's a thing that happened
Yeah.
in life. And what can I do around it? What can I do with it? Like let's say, we had a rough morning and walked in the door 5 minutes late into work. It's like, what can we do to negotiate these things about judgment? It is what it is. And many times we don't spend the time looking at what is before we judge it.
Yeah.
We look at the perception that we should have about it, but no, it's not what we should have of it. It's what is it?
Yeah. Uh, some things aren't as easy. We're talking about the little things, but wow, I was just thinking of a person that I know who, when he was a teenager, was joyriding, drinking and stuff. They had a big crash, and the person that he had in the passenger seat there, for the last 20 years has been paralyzed. And
Hmm.
wow, just think of this self. Um, how a person could begin to hate themselves for being so irresponsible, and being responsible for another person being paralyzed the rest of their life, or someone who's a drunk driver, who's a good person, maybe has a little too much to drink. It goes through a stop sign and kills people, even
Hmm.
if they end up in jail for manslaughter or something. How does somebody not hate themselves for that? Um, I mean, those are tough ones, and those things happen. You
They
know.
do. They really do. And that's the thing though, is that, you know, you know, going in and paying, let's say causing a wreck, where somebody was hurt, we have to live with that humanness that we were for that moment. I didn't know better to do better at that moment, and it doesn't make it right.
Yeah.
And then we can only ask for forgiveness. There's times where I do something that's a little unconscious because, as I'm human sometimes, and it's like, oh, please forgive me. I'm sorry that I did that, and energetically, I just kind of try to heal the process of that,
Yeah.
and try to do better. But then that's where we are responsible. We are very much responsible for the
Yeah.
actions that we cause. And if we can really work on doing that at the front load of it, you know, let's say talking to ourselves before we walk into our first day of job, okay, Natasha, this is your first day at work. We're going to make flubbles. We're going to make mistakes, perceived mistakes. It's a thing.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say I'm going to learn to do better, and how can I front load that?
Yeah.
Somebody is drinking, let's say, and like I had a bunch of girls and I went dancing. What did they front load that with? They made sure that there was a safe driver to drive,
Yeah.
you
Being
know
responsible.
being responsible. So there's that front loading. And if we can't front load the knowings of a situation, then how can we negotiate the story afterwards? And so front load as much as you can. Hey, I know I'm
Right.
not right. I'm not doing well today. Like for me, I probably had maybe an hour and a half of good sleep, and the rest was pretty. turmoil the rest of the night. And so today I kind of gave myself a front loaded understanding that, okay, I know that I might be running on an edge here. So how can I negotiate the story of today?
Yeah.
How can I negotiate the story of the day, which is take a breath more often,
Yeah.
choose
Well,
to interact instead of react, put that as my front load.
yeah. What I would do, I'm just thinking, okay, let's say we had a client that came to us that had that scenario where they were reckless or somehow caused somebody else some harm. What I would do with the skills that I have is I would say, well, I think we could get some more information for you that might help you deal with it a little easier by, getting them into a deep state of trance, having them go to the afterlife, have them talk to that soul that maybe passed away because of them, have a conversation with them, and just to telling them how sorry they are, and find out in a bigger picture, is there more of a bigger picture here that was going on?
Mm-hmm.
Did I help fulfill? Was it just supposed to happen? Or was this some big lesson for me? But I think because people get those answers from the other side, they have more information to try to help them to navigate through their, to get themselves back on track again, to make up for what they did, or to, I mean, just self-loathing, self-hatred, and everything like that is not going to heal anything. It's just going to make things, it's like throwing gas on the fire. It's going to make things worse. So, and like if they came to you, Natasha, and you were doing a reading for them, you might have, one of the guides or angels maybe say something that would console them, or
Mm-hmm.
or tell them, yeah, this is what you need to do, and you're just receiving what you have to go through because of the choices you made, or something. But at least I would think that we could help them a little bit, maybe a
Yes,
lot,
yes, yes.
getting
And
the bigger
that's
perspective.
the thing is, like, if someone's sitting in jail and they're really feeling remorseful, writing letters, writing, and you don't necessarily have to mail them to the person, but writing letters to negotiate through, get it. I know that many times when we are feeling bad about something, we really have to get it out of us. How can we
Mm,
negotiate this out of us? And, writing, drawing pictures, doing something to get that emotion moving through us. I had someone who was upset that she, wanted to kill someone, and then found out later that they died of cancer, you know, and so she took it on that, did I give
yeah.
them cancer? And it's like,
Hmm.
no. No. Yes, we can throw energy towards someone. Yes, we can do these things, but it is a thing that, it's like a curse, or someone does something to you with magic, and it's like you can either have the choice of taking it on, or you don't. If you don't, attract the curse won't be on you. You know, and so there's those things to negotiate how we do it. But if you look at everything as based in emotion, everything is based in emotion that we do, pretty much. And if we can negotiate through those emotions, anger is judgment, sadness is judgment, frustration, it can be sadness and grief, anger is sadness and grief, whatever it is. What is it that's really stirring on us? And if we can communicate with those emotions, and I can tell you, sometimes emotions just need to be in a pillow and screamed at, out,
Yeah.
you know or or we need to draw something, get it out of us. There was many times, when I was angry about something because things were happening in my life with an alcoholic husband, and I was going through grief, and there was a rap song that came on, and it was, I beat the freaking steering wheel, because the beat was so strong, and I turned it up, my ears hurt. But what I had to do was get that energy out of me so that I can come to more of a neutrality to negotiate what was in front of me, instead of having all these different perceptions, emotions, and things coming at me.
Yeah.
that I had to get to some kind of neutrality to understand the bigger picture. And that's one thing that going to counseling, if something is bothering you, instead of letting it eat at you, because um, what's it called? It's where you don't really go at it. It's not there, but it's coming.
Okay.
It's like when you're angry about something, but you're not angry outwardly, you kind of do it backwards.
What you
Uh,
mean? You become passive aggressive?
Passive aggressive. Yes,
Okay.
passive
Oh boy,
aggressive.
that's a big one.
That
We
is
could
a
talk
huge.
about that on another show. That we could do a whole show on the stupid things we do to be passive aggressive.
Exactly,
Hmm.
exactly. But it's the same idea. Because if we don't, people who are passive aggressive don't necessarily deal with what's really happening. And they don't deal with the emotions that are really happening.
Yeah.
Because either they don't have a voice about it, which I know I was passive aggressive when I was dealing with an alcoholic husband because I couldn't have a voice. It was either stay
Yeah.
quiet or have a huge fight in front of the kids. And sometimes I would choose to be quiet. But that energy had to go somewhere. And it turned out to be a little bit more passive aggressive, which I'm not proud of, but I understand where I was at. And so I
Yeah.
can't judge it. I understood where I was at, which is in a place of disharmony. It was in disharmony. And, looking at where things are we in harmony with something or not? Are we flowing with it? Is it, do we judge sometimes when an email doesn't go through, but yet, we say, oh, I'm done for a minute. And you go and do something else and come back and, and it goes through.
Yeah.
It's like we got to work through these stories of who we are and negotiating us because that's what ends up being judgment is all these things that get piled up and it gets into anger and anger is judgment.
Yeah. I was thinking too, for anybody watching now, if you're thinking of in your own life, if you've had some things, if you think of a certain situation that's still bothering you for some bad choices you made or some harm you caused to somebody or some fight you had with somebody that you wished you hadn't done, if you close your eyes and your subconscious will show you uh, a little needle, like a scale goes from 1 to 10, and you feel that energy in your body. You try to feel where it is in your body you're feeling it, and just watch, and it'll ping. Like, if it's been something horrendous, it'll ping at a 10. And you're thinking, oh man, you're just really holding all that energy inside. There's a modality that I use with my regular clients. It's been very successful called EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique. We talked about it many times on the
Mm-hmm.
show, but it works miracles for balancing this negative energy that you're carrying around in your body. For instance, I had two clients, one who had an argument with her husband, told him to get the hell out. He took off out on his motorcycle. He's going down the freeway and a mattress fell out in front of him from a truck and he died. So she's feeling all of this guilt. Like, why did I lose my temper and tell him to get the F out? And if I hadn't done that, he'd still be alive. And another one was she was having postpartum depression from a birth, and the husband wasn't getting the attention he needed. He was, yeah, you're giving all the attention to the baby, not to me. And she's sitting at the tables. There's a cup there. She throws it at him, and he lost an eye. Hit him in the eye, and now he's blind in one eye. Oh my gosh, you can imagine the guilt you feel and all that and stuff. So doing the tapping from both of them were able to get it from a 10 down to a 3 or 4 and then to a 2, and then eventually was in a third session they still had guilt and felt shame a little bit about it, but it wasn't enough to where they would be doing drugs, alcohol, or really hating themselves. So there are some modalities that psychologists
Mm-hmm.
use for helping people to get through those things. you know so you look it up, EFT, or go to my website. There's videos on it, and you'll see that it's something that really, really works. And we can do it even a session for you over Zoom or something to help you
Mm-hmm.
with that. Or to
Exactly.
have you go to the afterlife, spend a couple hours there, get a real big picture of it. That's even a thing that you can do. Or call Natasha up, and she'll help you get some perspective from it. Um,
Exactly. I do a lot of meditations where I have someone walk a path, and we get a lot of that same scenario taken care of through that meditation. We go in and have people meet. Like I've been doing some meditating now. never been a meditator. And then I had
Hmm.
Jesus come to me and he said,
Mm-hmm.
Natasha, it's time for you to meditate. So he says, here, come to a bench. Every time, come to a bench.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've been coming to a bench,
All
and
right.
it's amazing who is there. I never know who's going to be there. It's been a bear. There's been a star being called his name is Jupiter.
Wow.
There's all these different things, and like Jesus said, this bench. There when I sat with him, my mind was rolling, and he says, yeah, the bench could be a roller coaster, so we could be riding a roller coaster and having a conversation. So this bench has been in front of the ocean, has been in front of trees, it's been out in space. It's been,
That's a good. Yeah.
but it's always me going to a bench and so with that going there, but going to that space, it's been amazing how much I've had a conversation with scenarios
Mm-hmm.
to help me through my scenarios. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what I love to present for people is that I give them a chance to go into a place to find something to help them heal or help them negotiate or find the bigger picture, because a lot of times this stuff is contractually done. We
Yeah.
were meant to have something, and if we're not on the right path, something will happen to alter us.
Mm-hmm.
There's things that happen where like there's someone who lost their leg, right? And they were on this path going down, and they when they self-reflected, they thought, towards the end, right before that accident, they were feeling like they were feeling untruthful with that path. It was starting to feel not right,
Mm-hmm.
and yet they didn't listen, and then they went into that accident, and come to find out that new path that they're on was the thing that their soul really wanted them to experience and learn. Like for you doing your hypnotherapy now, you've learned perspectives of other people, which has helped you to be more kinder.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like for me, this path for me has been about owning my own empowerment, shining my light. But yet it's put me into scenarios to challenge that. Like yesterday, I was driving down the road and I almost had somebody come out and T-bone me, or I almost T-boned them, because they came out from the
Oh.
side of the road, and luckily I put on my brakes in time, and she stopped in time. But the thing is, though, that I could have sat there and go, oh God, yeah, and really get into the fear and the angst of it. But what I said, thank you, because I didn't become that situation.
Yeah.
I stayed in my light. And so with that experience was here to help me stay in my light,
Yeah.
you
I,
know?
I was pulling out of a driveway. I was looking for some business and following MapQuest or something. And you know how sometimes it's like right next to you, but you don't see it, and it's telling you to turn. You go, oh, it's not here or anything. And anyway, I went in there, but my mind was kind of on that, so I started to pull out again in the street, and one of those giant Coke trucks, those one that's like 20 feet long and these big red, big huge trucks like this, came by at about 40 miles an hour, and I swerved my van, and he came by about 40 miles an hour and knocked uh, what do I call it,
Your mirror.
my mirror off. And first thing I did was I said, oh my God, thank God it was just the mirror, because I would have been smashed big time. And it was like a wake up call for me to look, you're when we're doing this stuff, like following MapQuest and all that stuff, you gotta not be in a state of hypnosis and only do it. You got to be aware of everything else around you.
Hmm.
We have to be. It's like texting when you're driving. It's a little bit like that when you're trying to follow your phone, and we gotta be more careful. So ever since that day, I mean, I've never, it's really made me be a lot more careful, and to thank
Hmm.
God that it was just a mirror. It could have been a lot worse. I mean, the Coke truck stopped and everything. He says, oh man, you okay? And he looked at there was a tiny little scratch on his thing. He says, don't worry about it. And he just took off. So
Yeah,
we got to watch out.
it's a thing, but so I hope that we're coming down to the end of our hour. That even though we didn't give you a lot of tools, which quick little mantras will help. My first day, it's my first day, it's my first day, it's my first day. Breathe, 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 breathe. I'm perfectly imperfect. I'm perfectly imperfect. I'm perfectly imperfect. I'm human. I'm human. I'm human. This is my humanness coming out. This is my humanness coming out. What can we do to negotiate through these judgments to break the patterns of beating ourselves with a stick? That metaphorical stick. We're here to learn. We're
Yeah.
here to learn. And failure is only a perspective. Because many times when a business doesn't do it, when we don't do it right the first time, the right word is
Yeah.
cliche, what is right. If we don't do it, well the first time because we're learning how to do it, how can we negotiate that? That is part of the stepping stone of figuring out how to do it better each time. The learning skill. Well, if I hit myself with a nail, when I'm holding a nail and with the hammer, how can I learn to do that different? And
Right.
how can I negotiate things? So it's that thing. So thinking, getting the perspective that we're here to learn, and it's going up the ladder or going to a different place, jumping to another place. We can only do better to do better when we have that perspective. Because if we stay in judgment, we slow our inner growth down because we stay stagnant because it's such an emotional place. And if we
Yeah.
stay in emotions, we don't move forward as easily.
The ladder to success is always filled with a lot of rejection, a lot of missteps. It's never just perfect, perfect, perfect all the
Mm-mm.
way up to the steps. I mean, sometimes you cannot get to a next step up until you have some sort of loss or failure to help you see what you need to do to get to that next step. So, I learned that way back when I took sales courses back when I was in my 20s, and that taking all these courses. And uh, I forget, it was Zig Ziglar, I guess he was the big guy back then giving all these sales things, Zig
Mm-hmm.
Ziglar courses. And he was saying what you do is you find out what your occupation is, and each occupation is different for the amount of no's you're going to get till you get a yes. So
Mm-hmm.
you find out, like say if it's insurance, which people hate to buy insurance, you get a lot more no's there before you get a yes. But he says, well, just count the no's, and then you just keep going, 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 get as many no's as you can, because that's going to take to get that yes. And once people realize that, then they just looked at the no's as, okay, I got 10 no's now. I know on the 11th one it's coming. The law of
Yeah, I'm
averages.
getting. I'm
I'm
getting
gonna be there.
closer.
Yeah, so you don't take it, personal that way. But it's the same with us in learning everything. Like for me to learn to be selfless, or to be kind. Had a lot of times when I was beaten down, a lot of times when I didn't. But it's not how many times you get knocked down, but how many times you get up.
Get
Right?
back up.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's
So
how
that's
many
what we're.
times do you get back up? I think that's a good place to leave it,
Yeah.
leave this
Well.
conversation. It's how many times do you get back up? And
Right.
perseverance is, oh my gosh, this is going to be the year of the Chinese year of the rabbit. It's going to be about persevering. How do we persevere through trying to find that hole in the fence around the
Yeah.
the garden of wisdom? It's like how you can't find the first hole. You got to maybe find two or three before you get in and do it well. So, to use a metaphor there. But it's that dance. How can we do that?
Yeah.
So,
And
oh,
we've
go ahead.
learned the skills that's out there. That's what we do, is to help people get back up. So if you're down in the mud and you don't know what to do, I mean, this is when either us or some other therapist or some other media, I mean, what you're comfortable with. The main thing is that there are people out there. We've developed some skills that make it a little easier, or a lot
Mhm.
easier in some cases, for you to get back up on the wagon and move forward. And that's what we're here to do.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
visit theafterlife.com. There's some great videos on my website that teach what hypnosis really is. You can see some videos on EFT on there, which will make you a believer pretty quick to see how miraculous that works. And then you go to the spiritual side and visit the afterlife, and you can see some videos of, there's even a video of there of a young lady going through this process where she visits the other side for a few hours and comes back. So, and help you there. And Natasha, if we can both do it over Zoom or in person, depending on where you're at
Mhm.
in the world. It doesn't matter if you're actually, like a lot of our people listening have been in England lately. And sometimes we get people from India, different places. So we just, because of the technology now, we can be there right there with you on Zoom and help you. And right,
Exactly.
Natasha, you do a lot of sessions on either by the phone or on Zoom too, don't you?
Exactly. Yes, I do. I really do. And then one thing about Zoom, what I like is that it's recorded, so you can also send it so people
Yeah,
can re go through and rehear some scenarios that way.
yeah.
So you can reach me at angelicclarifications.com. If you would like to set up a session, I have an appointment um, on my negotiation there on my website. And then you can also, if you really like what you're seeing, please like or share this scenario, because this conversation is one that I really hope that people know that you are loved, and the angels, guides, Jesus, Mother Mary, they don't hold you in judgment. They really do not hold you in judgment. They hold you in love and kindness, because we're here to learn. We are
Yeah.
really here to learn. So,
Oh, and one other thing too, we were talking about you started meditation before we're off here. When thousands and thousands of people have done this process, over 70,000 so far through the Newton Institute, when people ask over there, what's the best way to evolve spiritually? What's the best practice to have? What's the best religion? It comes down, they always say meditation. That's
mhm.
God's, in the Bible, it says the kingdom of God is within, this is,
Yep,
in meditation is a way of going within. So you know, um, just for your knowledge, and Insight Timer, that app, Insight Timer, is a good meditation app. There are others out there. It's free, and there's hundreds of things to do on there, whether you have 5 minutes or an hour to meditate, all different kinds of ways of meditating. So you can choose to, depending on your personality and your, how much time you have. So anyway,
exactly. Exactly. And I know that for me, I'm always available to the universe. But there's a little bit something different, that especially with the energies we're going through right now, that spending just that extra little time to connect in a different way has been a different kind of blessing. Because I do hear things,
yeah.
but it's just a different kind of blessing. So, uh, Regan, you can reach him at visittheafterlife.com. You can reach me at angelicclarifications.com. We are here every Monday at 4 o'clock Pacific time. And we are going to talk about different subjects. Don't know what we're going to talk about next week. This week is different for me. On Wednesday, I will not be on. I will be on Thursday at 4 o'clock Pacific time. I have something. We have a teacher that I have known for about 20 years that's retiring, and I really want to go to her retirement
You
party
gotta go.
Wednesday, and it's at 4 o'clock. So I will be on Thursday, live on Thursday. And I think I'm going to talk a little bit about going through the ending process of the grief, the little griefs that we've been going through lately, is what I'll be talking about on Thursday at 4 o'clock Pacific time on YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter, and Facebook. So,
Okay.
okay. So blessings to you all.
See you all next week.
Okay, bye now. Oh, and if you like
Bye.
podcasts, all these shows are on podcasts. So please go to Natasha Venter or Natasha at Life Clarifications on any podcast. Blessings
Yeah,
to you. Bye now.
feel free to interact with us on YouTube and Facebook also.
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
Bye now.
All right. Bye bye.